Welcome back to the Christian Henderson Show. In this episode, I have a man on the podcast who has been a great impact on me this last year. He played basketball at Liberty University and started a career playing overseas in many different countries. 4 years ago, he and his extended family bought and now run Deer Creek Camp, a Christian camp with a mission to inspire Christ-like change. I had the pleasure of serving there this summer for 6 weeks of camp, and it was a very enriching experience. That would be the word I use. Now, you can tell from the start that the staff had your best interests at heart and valued you and the personality you brought to camp. My guest today has accomplished a lot and actually recently, specifically, has been through a lot. He is respected and loved by so many, especially his big family. So please, guys, help me welcome a man who I also respect and admire, Jesse Sanders. Jesse, thanks for joining the conversation.
Christian, it's an honor to be here, man. So thankful that, man, God allowed our paths to cross, and man, just thankful for your friendship. So appreciate this opportunity.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I'm glad that we get to do this. It's cool, especially after a camp experience, being able to just reflect, ask a few questions to a guy who is very present in the process. So, without further ado, let's dive into it.
Let's go.
We got a couple of fun questions that I want to throw out there to you. The first one is about your family. I had the opportunity to connect with them, be at y'all's house, and it was just a lot of fun. Just great family. All the kids are fun to hang out with. So I wanted to throw a question family oriented to you.
Okay.
What is your favorite thing to do with your family that most families don't do?
Man, this could be a podcast in and of itself, Christian.
Right, right.
So as you know, we have six kids. Ava's
Yeah.
our oldest at 10, all the way down to Sophia at 10 months, and four others in between. I'm fifth of six kids myself, so I had lots of fun
Right.
memories firsthand from big group games and road trips. But I say if I had to narrow it down to one, um, just yesterday, we're big outdoors people.
Okay.
Love living the adventure, and the rivers have been pretty high. And yesterday, along with many in our staff, those that are working the retreat, we pumped up a bunch of inner tubes and floats, and man, we hit the Medina River and we floated for about probably 2 3 hours, and found rope swings and rocks to jump off of and skipping contests, and just being out in nature, playing with the kids, having adventure with them is something I really enjoy, and I'm trying to
Yeah.
instill that love of adventure in them at an early age.
Yeah, yeah. That's awesome. I think childhood is so cool when you have spontaneity and you're able to just go out of your house and just do things that uh maybe not even you remember that you did, but it's just all about doing the things kids do. And I think it's cool that you and Courtney provide kind of that environment for your kids to just go out there and do
That's
fun stuff.
It's funny you say that, man, because there's probably um, God brought Courtney and I together in a much needed way. She's a great counterbalance. Sometimes I can be very man, go with the moment, very sporadic. Yesterday's plan was there was a lunch and we were gonna play some games and take a nap, and I came in about 6 minutes before the fact and said, "We're going to the river." And we loaded up tubes and went for it. And so she is great at just being down with the ride, but then also having some structure in there for the kiddos. So
Right.
those moments of adventure and fun are always great to mix in, along with some of the structured, more balanced activities that are good for development as well.
Yeah, yeah. Let's go. I love it. Um, the second question I wanted to run by you is more about your basketball career. I wanted to hear a story or something that stuck out to you in your career as what was the coolest moment?
Oh.
The coolest moment of your basketball career. Throw that one out.
Probably from a goal standpoint, or something that I'll carry with me, Lord willing, for the rest of my life. Basketball was always a collective, and my dad coached us, and I trained with Thomas and John Caleb. So from the very early age, it was 2-on-2 in the backyard. It was running stadium stairs in the off season. It was lifting weights at the YMCA. So we did it together. And Thomas is 4 years ahead of me. John Caleb is 2 years behind me. And so Thomas and I would train together, but never because of the age gap. The only time we could really play on the same team is at the professional level. But at the collegiate level, John Caleb and I had always wanted to play together. And so we had the opportunity my junior and senior year, his freshman and sophomore, we were the backcourt together at Liberty. And
Wow.
the advantages you have of playing with somebody for 15, 18 years together, the amount of no look, backdoor reads, eye contact, I know
Right.
where he's going. I like to pass, and John Caleb never saw a shot that was a bad shot, so I passed him. he lets them fly. So we had a lot, probably just a lot of the memories made leading up to the college careers, but then
Yeah.
those 2 years at Liberty were really special.
Hmm.
Just and the relational stuff off the court was probably just as, if not more memorable than the big shot or the dunk or the
Hmm.
game play. Those relationships that and memories you carry together. We
Right.
probably wear our wives out and wear the kids out with old stories on that, I'm sure.
Right. Did you ever have any sibling like rivalry at all, or was there like, oh, I wanna I wanna score more baskets than
Oh,
you? I
Christian,
feel
come
like
on, man. Yes. Liberty brought me back to do color commentary one game and one game only. And that was the day that John Caleb passed me in the all-time scoring leader list at Liberty University.
wow, wow.
No, but it was the fortunate part, competition was big in our family. And that
Mm,
was it was not that you're just trying to beat the other person all the time, but it was this, man, if I want to be better. He wants to be better. It fueled kind of a stair step process. And so every
right.
time I was chasing Thomas's shadow, John Caleb was chasing mine. We both benefited
Yeah.
from the one in front. So Thomas, to my recollection, I think he was the first guy in our area, first homeschool guard in our area to go play at the Division I level. And that was at the time it was kind of rare to be a homeschool basketball player. And so he broke the ceiling. And
Mm.
man, I saw him Division I scholarship, all conference player of the year, pro contract, NBA workouts. And so meanwhile, I'm 4 years down the line, I'm thinking, okay, I've seen the work, I've seen the
Mhm.
process, and him kind of trailblazing helped me follow suit, and John Caleb the same way, just kind of feeding off effort and lessons learned by siblings.
Yeah, yeah. That's awesome. I think that's definitely a blessing when you have siblings that are just skilled, who have goals in mind, and that you can kind of try to emulate that and even go above and beyond.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. Well, I want to transition into, I guess, a similar topic, but more of your personal story. Um so when it comes to kind of your basketball career, maybe even testimony, and then a few of the things that you have just kind of gone through recently, and then have overcame, and maybe are still processing or dealing with, and who you are now. So if you don't mind, just kind of walking us through your story.
Sure, and I'll try to go in, bite-sized pieces. If you want more or less on anything, just let me
Yeah.
know. But as I look back, man, I was so fortunate to be born into the family that God allowed me to be born into. Mom and dad that modeled um, just really well what it looked like to follow Christ, to love and serve one another, and then to love and serve their family first. And so
Yeah.
I couldn't have articulated that as a little boy. But now, as a man, as a father myself, reflecting on what was modeled for me, just few experience what I was able to experience. So really blessed from that standpoint. Um, I accepted Christ at 9 years of age. It was
Okay.
actually a biblical dramatization. It was a traveling group that did a production called Heaven's Gates and Hell's Flames, and I was in all the things. I did Awanas in Sunday school, and but it was the first time I think Holy Spirit was knocking, and this my faith was my own. Not I wasn't Tom Sanders' son or Nancy's son or one of the Sanders kids. It was what do I believe? And I mean, I could tell you what I was wearing, what we'd had for dinner. That I mean, it was a very vivid, specific moment in time, and then coming out of that, again, I had a great accountability system growing up. With siblings that were not perfect, but were trying to honor the Lord. Good, accountability at home, and it was really a new chapter of my life going. 20-hour drive from Houston, Texas to Lynchburg, Virginia. Now I'm making a name for myself, and I don't have anybody checking up on me, and I love the Lord, but now I'm getting popularity and attention from girls and notoriety from the basketball team. And I think that freshman year of college, it wasn't a conscious decision to drift away, but I think some just small unintentional decisions or some slippage in some areas led to a furthering from the man I knew I wanted to be, the how I wanted to live, how I wanted to honor the Lord. I look back at the end of my freshman year and I just very disappointed in some of the decisions that I'd made. And again, it wasn't like a goal to go do this or go, be in that party scene but it was just kind of slippage here and there. And thankfully, God used two friends in my life, two guys that I was friends with that both one had a very strong intentional habits to protect his purity, and the other one really, really a strong prayer life. And these were two guys that I was friends with, but I respected. They had growth in two areas that I wanted growth in. And so I made a calculated decision to not run with the kind of basketball, football crowd that I was in,
Yeah.
and started doing life with these two guys. And I think God used some of those commitments, some of the conviction that He'd brought, and it was a very pivotal moment in my journey from freshman year to sophomore year. And again, there's been ups and downs throughout the journey, and I think as we talk about it at camp, the moment of salvation, it can be a moment in time. The process of sanctification plays out day in and day out, and
Right.
just what God has done in the midst of times of success and in the midst of times of great failure. Man, His faithfulness is true. His goodness is new. His mercy is new. Just anyway, just seeing that kind of play out, and I'm so thankful. I didn't meet Courtney until the tail end of my college career, and I look at the woman that God had for me, orchestrated us connecting, and man, I'm so thankful that I think He tugged on me early on in college as I was kind of going here, as I don't think she would have been attracted or drawn to the man that I was trending or where I was heading. And I
Right.
see it's being very pivotal. And now I look at, man, I'm married to a beautiful, godly woman who, just is committed to honoring Him and is committed to raising our children in a way that would be honoring to the Lord as well. So that freshman year was very pivotal. As you mentioned, basketball was a passion of mine from a very early age. So after college, Courtney and I get married, and the next 6 years we live in different parts of Europe and Australia playing basketball, and it was a lot of fun, man. It was just the challenge of proving yourself each year. The goal was always to play in the NBA, and had a couple sniffs here and there, but never could break in. But in the experiences that were presented to us, it's like, man, we saw a completely different way of life in Portugal, in Italy, in Germany, in Belgium, in Australia, and I'm so thankful for that. Like I can now look back on all of those adventures, those times together with a lot of fondness. Um, and then I had ankle surgery, injury. Some might say prematurely into the career, but I don't. I think God, there's no accidents or surprises. So that injury ended my playing days, but even while I was playing, there was this desire for something more. Like I knew I was
Yeah.
like, I love basketball, but God's created me for a lot more than just coming off a ball screen. How does He want to use this game for kingdom purpose? And so I would run basketball camps. I'd do Bible studies with my teammates. But I knew, I shouldn't say I knew, my desire was when I was done playing, there would be a ministry that we could use basketball as a tool for discipleship. And I think that was planted in me at a very early age, because I saw my dad do it firsthand. I saw how he mentored, discipled so many young men like myself, that basketball was the connection point. But really, what he was doing was challenging them in scripture memory, challenge them to fight for their purity, challenging them to get in the word daily. He was modeling what he wanted us to do and using basketball as the tool to kind of build relationships. And so I remember when Thomas was playing in Spain one year, and I think I was in Belgium. Um, we both kind of independently had a prompting, I think, from the Lord that we both shared with our dad that, hey, this is what we want to do, independent of each other knowing, within about a month of each other. And my dad was like, you guys need to talk. God's putting something on your heart and your heart.
Yeah.
And so at that time, we started this little thing called Excellence Academy. And it was just we set up a little account that we could give some money to, and we'd pray once a week about God, when the time is right, what you want to do. Please make it clear. And that soon morphed, and we started praying for three things: vision, wisdom, and unity, um, over what this ministry would be. And so, finished. Thomas tears his shoulder. I get ankle surgery. We'd both get too old to play basketball. We come back to the Houston area, and pretty crazy turn of events. God, in about 3 years, opens this door for us to come to Deer Creek.
That's amazing. Yeah. So the whole process of man, basketball, connecting with your brothers there, and then launching it overseas, um, and amazing memories made, lots of fun, but at the same time having a desire for something maybe different, and then God opening up that opportunity and putting it on both Thomas and your heart, and then from that prayer launching into Deer Creek as a camp, and that was 4 years ago. Right? Is it like four and a
Yeah,
half now, or
yeah, because we came here in early 2021. So yeah, a little four and some change. And really, there was about 3 years where we were back in Houston, dreaming, talking, praying. Is this a prep school? Is it a boarding school? Is it an AAU team? How do we do this? How do we get from talking about it in our backyard to actually doing something? And I was getting pretty frustrated. I was like, man, we've been talking about this for years now. Like, God, how do we get off home base? And Caroline and Steve had been in camping ministry. That's, my older sister and her husband, and God just did a lot. I think through some of the craziness with COVID, kind of contracting some of our various businesses and things that we were pressing into at the time.
yeah,
Through those things slowing and some of the other just distractions, the busyness of life, margin was created to, okay, this thing we've been talking about, how serious are we? How much will we press into this? And I remember during that time, we actually made a spreadsheet of every ministry in the Texas in Texas that we thought we could have something to do with. And I remember making a spreadsheet and sending emails and calling and being that random guy that was like, "Hey, is your camp for sale?" People were like, "What are you talking about?" But I remember just being like, knowing there was something more, but not knowing how to get there. We pushed on a lot of doors, and I was getting frustrated because my efforts weren't bringing results. And
gotcha.
then when God was ready, it was like open door, open door, open door, open door, open door. And over a period of from nothing for about 2.5 years, then in just a few months, it was like, boom, this is the place. Let's go. We're selling houses. We're selling businesses. We're moving to Medina, Texas, and here we go. Let's try to figure out how to serve together, how to pour into kids through camping ministry,
Yeah,
and just got after it.
yeah. And now, like even just being there for the year's worth, or one summer of a time, it was just awesome to be able to recognize the impact that it is having on so many students. So super thankful for what you guys are doing. I met you almost a year ago to this date, but soon after I met you, you ended up getting this diagnosis of stage 4 cancer. Obviously, stage 4 is a very big deal, and there's a lot of fear and just like questions that can come with a diagnosis like that. So I wanted to run by you kind of through tough circumstances like the stage 4 cancer during this time. did you have any like revelations or thoughts that stuck with you or influenced your thinking? So I
Yeah,
want to
man,
run by you.
great question. So, first 35 years of my life, athletics had been a big part of my journey. I'd always eaten healthy, exercised quite a bit, um, stayed hydrated. If you look online at healthy diets and healthy lifestyle, I would have checked most of the boxes.
Hmm.
And I don't know if anybody's ever prepared to get that diagnosis, but when I had a little bit of weird symptoms at the end of summer camp last year, I quickly dismissed it as it's camp. I'm not sleeping enough. I need to drink some more water. I'm on the road recruiting. I think it was actually the week after I was there at DBU is when I went in for the first appointment. I thought I had a kidney stone just from my 10 minutes of, WebMD. Here are my
Right.
symptoms, what I have. And man, when we got the first bit of concerning news of, hey, there's a mass, we got to look deeper. It was, man, just over the, I think it was within about 4 days, it just kept getting worse and worse and worse and worse. And then all of a sudden it was like, hey, we need to start chemo like yesterday. And this is a very aggressive type of cancer. And this is the type of chemo, and this organ's gonna die, and your skin will this, and your hair will fall out. And it's just like, whoa, what is worse, the chemo or the cancer? Like, and I still had this disbelief because I'm like running every morning, I'm lifting weights, I'm playing with my kids. I felt fine.
Right.
Um, and then they're wanting to put this port in me and pour this poison right next to my heart. I'm just kind of like, what is happening? Like, God, what? And just through this journey, um, time and time again, we're praying for peace, we're praying for wisdom. It would come. And even decisions over which medication do we do, the chemo, do we do the ivermectin, do we do the Fenbin, do we do the diet? At the end of it, we kind of did it all. But like he would bring peace and he would bring clarity to decisions that weren't easy. Um, and then in the thickest part of it, it's probably about 3 or 4 months after the diagnosis, things really got rough. And there was some moments that, the question, am I dying? Is this the end? Question that I didn't really think I'd be asking at this stage of my life. But I look back on now and I'm like, man, while I'm not thankful for cancer, I'm thankful for a lot of the intentionality and conversation and prayer and relationally times with my wife, with my children, with my siblings, with friends, that it's created. Some passages of scripture that have just been so um, just like anchors for us, Courtney and I, because I'm walking through it physically. She's walking through, I think, a far tougher road than I'm walking because she's wanting so badly for me to be better, and she's doing all the things, but is unsure what's working, what's not, and then just the pressure and the stress of the unknown is really challenging. Um, 2 Corinthians chapter 4 was a banner passage for us. Just what Paul's writing there, I resonated so deeply with. Um, Different Psalms 23, Psalms 103, and Psalms 40, each at different seasons. A lot of times when I was in a lot of pain, I'd sit in the bath and I would just play Psalms on through the Bible app and just listen. And it was, um, I shouldn't say it's surprising, but the thing that brought the most peace mentally was listening to praise and worship music that was biblically based, or listening to Psalms more than. And I'm highly, I'm a big time extrovert. I love being with people, but in those moments, it wasn't. I didn't really want to be around a lot of people. I wanted God's word and some quiet.
Yeah.
Um, so I mean, there's so many passages that I'm looking at through a different perspective now, walking through what we've walked through this last about 13 months. Um, that's His word is true, and it's alive, and it's active, and it's sharper than a two-edged sword. But I think different circumstances may draw you to different aspects of His word, and I know that's true for me in looking at different passages and passages that I'd never seen in that lens, just because of the experience that we were in.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. It's interesting how something like that opens the door up to just all these uh, just thought provoking um, things. The question that so many people wrestle with, and a question that I'm sure was on people's minds this summer, and maybe on like a family member's mind or a friend's mind of yours, but even with the uh, events that happened close to camp, like about 25 miles away from where we were at Camp Mystic. There's like no words to describe how devastating something like that is. Um, and there was a few other things that took place outside of camp that affected some counselors, some staff at Deer Creek, and my guess is that the question, why do bad things happen to good people, was going through some of our minds. And it's a question that I feel like we all kind of wrestle with at some point in our life. I wanted to ask how you would answer that question.
I can't, one, Christian, I cannot fathom to be what it would be like to be in the situation of some of these parents, some of these families who have lost loved ones. It just, as a dad, um, thinking about that with their children, I just, my stuff seems so tiny in comparison because I know as a father, if one of my children were to walk through what I walk through, my plea right after God heal, God restore would be let me have it. Let me take that on. So I had the benefit of sure it was challenging and there were moments of fear for my family, but I would rather that be me than anybody else. Don't want it to be Courtney. I don't want it to be my kids. And I know the mom and the dad's heart of every child, every loved one that was lost is why couldn't that have been me? Well, why? Well, why did there have to be death? Why did there have to be loss? But why couldn't it have been me? Why did it have to be them? And I think, man, some of those questions are ones I don't think we're going to have the answer in its entirety this side of eternity. I know there's truth in scripture. I know he's good. I know he works all things together for good for those who call upon him. There's so many promises that while I can't answer every question to the umpteenth degree, I know his word is true. I know he's good. I know he's for us. And I know for me, he gave me two passages that were real just kind of like, okay, I can underline this. I can hold on to this in the midst of the storm. The first one was in the midst of the chemo, one of those nights I thought I was dying. In Daniel 3, this is Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego are called before King Nebuchadnezzar. And he's telling them, hey, if you guys don't bow down to the statue I made when the music plays, I'm going to kill you guys. I'm gonna destroy, wipe your, you're gonna be, we're gonna heat the furnace. We're gonna throw you in there. It's sudden death. Your families are destroyed. It just, this is the most powerful man saying, you shut up and listen. And their response was, our God can deliver us. We believe he will deliver us. But even if he doesn't, we won't bow down. And that even if part's just two little words. I felt like God gave me that in this journey. I believe God can save me. I'm believing with faith, Father, will you save me? Will you spare my life? I don't believe I'm done here. But even if my journey ends in cancer, even if I die, I want to honor you. I want my journey to be like Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, that even if the worst happens, I'm going to honor. And then a few months later, my mother-in-law wrote me a letter. This is kind of coming out of the darkest moments, and now we're starting to rebuild, and my strength is coming back. Little hair starting to grow, uh, and she wrote me that God had given her Psalms 40, the first three verses. And if you read those three verses, it talks about God pulling you up from the pit, rescuing you from the miry clay, putting your feet on a solid rock, putting a new song in your mouth, establishing your steps. And so I'm like, gosh, I can resonate with that. I was down and I've experienced him giving me a new perspective, giving me joy, answering my prayers, establishing me. And then verse 3 says, and this is where I got the purpose in this. So why do bad things happen? I don't know. but because is there a purpose in the pain? Is there a purpose in the fear? Is there a purpose in the loss? And in Psalms 40, it says, so other people, so that many will see it, will fear, and will put their trust in God. And that to me was like, boom, okay, here's purpose. Okay, so if the suckiness with cancer and some of the stuff we've walked through, if God wants to use this testimony of Him redeeming and restoring with the end goal of others seeing it, fearing God, and putting their trust in Him, then heck yeah, it's all worth it. And I say that from my experience. I don't want to put that on somebody that is grieving the loss of a loved one. I don't know what God has for them, what passage, what truth, but I know His word is true. I know His promises are true, and He met me in those two passages in a pretty specific way.
Yeah. Yeah. I appreciate you answering that. It's good encouragement and a good couple good verses and just thought to grasp when going into a really tough season. Um, Knowing that, man, the tough things that we go through um, have a purpose. They have a purpose. So, yeah. Well, transitioning to the next question. Man, during camp, we had a lot of gospel presentations each week, which included some visuals that made us really ponder the gospel on a deeper level. Um, we had you bringing out the lamb and just like an actual visual of like, hey, our sins actually do have a cost. Tradition had it where you had to actually slaughter an innocent lamb like the one you brought out during our gospel presentations. It made me wonder what you think the most common thing we take for granted is as Christians.
Man, I think, Christian, I think the message of the cross, I think it is so, if we will sit and ponder and think, God so loved the world that He gave His only begotten Son, His only Son. You could, I mean, I don't think you could have spent the rest of your life pondering that gift that God gave. You could, in that same breath, you could ponder the gift that Jesus willingly gave. And He talks in the garden, Father, there be another way. Take this from me. But nevertheless, not my will, but your will be done. So He, the Father, gave an unexplainable, unfathomable gift. The Son, knowing very well, Jesus knowing very well what He was going through, submitted to the will of His Father so that all of mankind, if we would accept, could be made right, could experience that gift of salvation. And I just think, I don't know if it's just familiarity with it, if it's crosses on necklaces, if it's um, Sunday schools, um, if it's well-intentioned stories that just ho hum, I've heard it before. Anytime as I'm thinking on this each summer, it's like, man, how can we make the message come alive? It is life. It changes everything. But I think often, I know for me, there's been times in my life where I've belittled that gift and have not lived my life in response to that gift. And so that would probably be the thing that I see culture just taken for granted of the most. And so something I'm really passionate about at camp is trying to just unpack the truth of the gospel. Not in a high level, complicated, it's love, it's simple, but in it's so much deeper than we can ever fully fathom.
Yeah, yeah, that's really good. I think, like you mentioned, it's so important to have that constant reminder of just, I mean, what Jesus has done for us on the cross and not take it for granted. I think that was a big just very powerful seeing the visuals as it brought it to light. It was almost like seeing an example of kind of what Jesus had to endure and in life, just not being complacent, not being passive, but and picking up our sword and knowing that we're fighting for something that is noble and worthy and has a purpose. So that's really good. Yeah.
Our command. He tells us, pick up your cross daily and follow me. And that's not it's not an accolade or award or a bonus check. That he picked up that cross. He knew he was carrying that torture device, and that was death of self. So as I'm picking up, I'm dying to Jesse, I'm alive to him. And I think that's what he wants us as Christ followers. Man, that I'd stay there, that I wouldn't be selfish, that I wouldn't default to
Right.
that I would no, I'm dying to self, I'm alive to him. And so as we're working with campers, as we're trying to pour into staff, that's the heartbeat, man, that we follow his example. And I
Mhm.
think that message of the cross, I don't think that's one that we'll ever exhaust. I think there's always going to be a message for you or for me, for you, for there's always a message for us at the cross.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. Is that Luke 10:15? Okay. That was one of the verses that we tried to highlight, me and one of my co's as well, after it was talked about, I'm pretty sure by Thomas in one of the gospel presentations. But it really does mean while we're here, while we have the opportunity to make eternal impact, how about we go out and live unselfishly for the God, um, who died for us, and um, man, it just allows you to live with freedom, which is sometimes hard to grasp, um, and surrender, and uh, really makes a difference. Well, man, I really appreciate the this conversation. Always enjoy talking to you, but it's cool to be able to record it and then allow other people to listen in as well. Before we go, last question for you: can you tell us where we can connect with you, and Deer Creek, and the ministry that you and your family are doing?
Man, thank you, Christian. Yes, I would say first off, if you can connect with Christian Henderson, that's stay right here. Yeah, Christian's a special young man, and I'm blessed. I'm blessed to be able to know him, call him a friend. Just proud of you, and thankful for the work God's doing in your life. We're here at Deer Creek Camp. Website's deercreekcamp.com, and we're on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, TikTok. I'm kind of old school. I don't do a lot of social media. I do have a Facebook, and Courtney will kind of post stuff from time to time on there. But yeah, we try to, when we're in the thick of the cancer journey, we were posting on Caring Bridge, but Lord willing, that season is past. And so, we're trying to share updates, praise reports, prayer requests, everything through our social medias and then through the email list. And you can subscribe to that through our website at deercreekcamp.com.
Awesome. Well, Jesse, thanks again. I appreciate you being here.
Love you, buddy. Thanks for the time.
Yes, sir. And thank you guys for tuning in to the Christian Henderson Show. Make sure to consider sharing this episode with someone you value. And also make sure to follow the Christian Henderson Show on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube to listen in and watch new episodes as they come out. Remember, we got to ask this question: what is the next best thing you can do now? Go live a life confident in God's ability to bless you abundantly and use you for kingdom impact. Let's go.